Oh, wow, that is such an amazing question. What do I imagine repair to look like? Repair looks like access. It looks like access to education, access to jobs, access to housing, access to healthcare, access to anything that will improve the quality of life for those of us who have been marginalized for centuries.
As an urban planner who understands some of this history, I think repair has to happen at several levels, with the federal government actually adopting a reparations policy that compensates Americans who are descended from Africans who were enslaved in America, and then of course all the state level policies and the city level policies. So I think it's multi-level.
Repair, to me, look like the city of Boston will have a nonprofit that focuses on fair housing, fair lending, and environmental justice.
Providing resources for residents of color in neighborhoods that have been subject to a lot of inequalities, and to make sure that they can really keep their homes in good repair, and also to buy homes in their neighborhoods and not to have those neighborhoods be totally gentrified.
Repair looks like Roxbury residents receiving financial stability, stipend that they don't have to pay back, that they can afford a home and stay here, right in Roxbury, where they live and strive.
Potential to truly repair means changing how affordable housing ownership programs work, to allow those discriminated against to be able to purchase without any equity limitation at sale. And I think one of the things that needs to happen is actually, how do you calculate what the damage has been historically?
Repair is understanding and owning the harm that was done and having the courage to repair it, to do something about it. I think people talk about reparations or repair or restoration as being hard, and it is hard. But I know that throughout history, humans have done hard things a lot. And so we can't throw up our hands at this one. We got to say, yep, it's hard, and we're going to work on it, and we're going to work together, we're going to work across lines, and we're going to make it happen. Because people have been seriously harmed, and we need to really think about how to make them whole.
We need to start repair so that people can accumulate generational wealth for their families, in terms of making sure that people can know financial literacy, so that they can make the best deals, of course, for them and their families.
When there's a history of people being held back, then a lot of times, a lot of your imagination gets caught up in just trying to fix that. And it is like a survival mode thing. It's like, this bad thing happened, I need to fix it. And your whole life becomes about trying to fix this thing, but you don't get to imagine something bigger. Like, imagine if you weren't trying to fix things, and then what would you see for yourself?
So to me, repair looks like being really done in a practice or manner that's very restorative and healing. I think it also may look like involving community members as well. So it's kind of like all hands on deck.
I think repair is just making a community where everyone is loved and helping each other out, because what's repair if it's not even together in the first place?
It is love, it is acceptance, it is healing. I really think that strengthening the community is important. And I also think that instead of ignoring the problems that we've created in the past, we should look to fix them. And that's a great way to strengthen our neighborhood.
It really is about coming to terms and feeling affirmed and heard.
Everything works. Everything feels good, it's connected, and it brings good impact.
Repair is always a process, and one of the first steps in that process is just acknowledging that the harm happened and that the harm was based on anti-Black and anti-immigrant racism. And once we can not just acknowledge it and apologize for it, but act with courage on the knowledge and the understanding that racist, anti-immigrant harm happened to people who are still alive today and their descendants are still here today, then we can begin to think more expansively and creatively about the many things that need to happen in order to redress the historic racial discrimination that we've documented in our research.
me, it looks like making sure that our young people understand home ownership at the earliest age. I just graduated a group of young people who took my entrepreneurship class, and the idea is that in the next 5 years, they'll be able to earn enough money to actually acquire a home. And I agree totally about understanding the history and our experience in home ownership. And that's also part of my curriculum that I teach. So I envision a group of young people graduating high school with the idea in mind of home ownership.
Redressing harms means that you are not just inclusive of community voice, but that you're looking at true data to be able to actually create equitable solutions to allow people opportunities to create generational wealth. Really love this idea of homes for equity, to be able to maybe increasing or decreasing restriction to deeds so that folks can actually be able to build equity, to liquidate assets, passing down generational wealth, or whatever other investments that they feel they need to. Whenever we are talking about redressing harms, we tend to dilute the conversation about the African American people, inevitably giving them the shorter end of the stick. So redressing harms means intentional, it means transparent, it means sincere, and it means that we prioritize those mostly impacted and that we are intentional about it.
My idea of repair is like a 4-part formula. They ought to be down payments for people to buy a home. Affordable homes should be built for those folks on public land all across Massachusetts. There should be priority for families from Roxbury and other communities that were hurt by housing discrimination, like we've documented in Roxbury. And fourth, there should be small grants for those home buyers to create an estate plan so they can hand off that home to their kids in the future, or else we're not going to have the intergenerational wealth. So that's my 4-part formula.
I imagine that we try to locate all African Americans that were impacted by redlining and whose fathers were not able to get their GI Bills, and bring them together in various ways to let them know that they're eligible to get funding and monies to finally buy homes or be offered some form of reparations so that they can make a choice of where they want to live, how they want to build wealth, and whatever they deem that will help next generations to come.
I imagine repair to look like folks like myself, real estate agents, soon to be appraisers, to bring this type of information to the table, to our colleagues, and to continue to have the conversation around equity and how we can infuse that into our practice and our work.
Repair to me looks like putting oppressed people first in line and not making general programs for access, but really reaching back directly to those who are harmed and putting them first. And it also looks like investing not just in the things that we need to live, housing, clean water, access to transit, but also things that bring passion and love into our lives, arts, culture. So much has that been lost in Roxbury around arts and culture, and that's related to a lot of this disinvestment.
You can't repair something if you don't understand how it's broken. And so repair means really digging in and finding out the specific ways in which people were harmed, in which people were traumatized, in which people were stolen from. And so repair means a really specific redress for that. It means making people whole to the extent that you can. And it means creating a world in which the systems that broke them, the systems that harmed them, can never be recreated.